This is the first shot. I have only two hands and lots of things to manoeuvre.
Do you know when you wake up and something's happened in the night? Oh, that sounds weird.
Phone. Oh no, that sounds even more weird.
Well, I've got a... And it all went wrong. So I was induced, that all went wrong. But anyway, it was all fine in the end.
I thought we were talking about Horlicks.
Yeah, I know.
It's all coming back to me now.
Is it?
If you touch me like this... Sorry.
What?
That's Celine Dion.
Oh, not so. But the reason I mentioned Horlicks
Has a habit of doing this.
Tangents.
In fact, we've spoken about and we've tried lots of other herbal tisanes, all of which smell great and taste like water. So, of course, booths. Nailed it. Yes. Shot one is done. 1, 2. Welcome, everybody, to the Bakery Bears video show featuring...
Walking the moors.
Oh no.
Walking the dales.
Yes, well done. She got there in the end. I sprung that on her.
The only reason I said moors is because I heard, when you were editing, I heard you say more.
Yes.
So...
Well...
That's thrown me.
Not only is there a dale, there's also a moor. Also, there's a beautiful church. There's lots of sheep and some lambs.
And can I say what there is?
Yeah.
There's a waterfall.
Oh, a mysterious waterfall. Will we find it? That's the question. Now then, how was your Easter? Ours was lovely.
Yes.
Lots of really lovely chocolate. Didn't waste my money on any eggs. Oh no.
No, you didn't have eggs. Bryony had a little button egg. She likes Cadbury's buttons, so she
When
had
you're a kid, it's
button
important, I think. You have to have an egg.
Yeah, you got to have an egg. Yeah.
But as you get older and you understand that eggs are a rip-off, because you get half the amount of chocolate.
There's not a lot of chocolate, really, is there, in an Easter egg?
Much better to get yourself a box of chocolates. Or 3.
You did have 3. Did you have 3?
Yes.
You did. You had...
I can't remember. Lily O'Brien's.
Lily O'Brien's.
Sounds like an Irish lady. Sounds like an Irish landlady.
It always sounds Irish to me, yeah.
Maybe it's an Irish chocolate.
Yeah.
Something else from...
Holdsworth or something.
Something like that.
Yeah.
It's like a local thing.
Yeah, some posh box of chocolates.
And if it was that good, I'd have remembered the name and I'd be saying try it, but it wasn't.
The box was very pretty.
Yeah, it was. I'll tell you the best one of the 3. It was the cheapest, and it was a box of Milk Tray.
Milk Tray. You can't beat Milk Tray, can you? I used to love Milk Tray.
It was absolutely marvellous.
Strawberry one. I like the strawberry one.
Do you know what? I didn't when I was young.
Oh, really?
But now I love it.
Strawberry cream, isn't it?
Yes.
And it was always shaped like a strawberry. Is it still?
Yes. Yes, it's gorgeous. But you must put your Milk Tray in the fridge.
Oh, no, don't start on about that because you're going to get people shouting.
I don't mind what anyone says. Look, here are the facts. Have Milk Tray not fridged, they don't taste very much of anything. It just tastes sweet. Put it in the fridge, it brings out all the flavours.
I disagree.
How can you comment when you haven't had a chocolate in years?
No, but I remember what chocolate tastes like.
Let me tell you.
I'm not that silly.
Milk Tray is not what it was when we were youngsters.
I'm sure it's not, but still, you're going to have people yelling at you saying you should never put chocolate in the fridge.
High quality chocolate, you would be correct. But low quality chocolate, like Milk Tray, £3.50 for a box. It was the biggest box of the 3.
It was reduced, wasn't it?
And it was less than half the price of the other 2.
Yeah.
That's just insane.
Each to their own, I suppose. Do what you wish with your chocolate.
You do you.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you this, Milk Tray tastes much more strawberry-y.
Strawberry-y?
It's a new word when it comes out of the fridge. Now, I enjoyed my chocolate. Kay enjoyed her Horlicks.
I bought some Horlicks. Oh, I just suddenly had a craving for Horlicks. And the last time I had Horlicks was when I was in hospital, pregnant with Bryony. I was taken into hospital a couple of weeks before I had Bryony.
For any new viewers, Bryony is our daughter.
She's 15 now, 15 and a half. Can't believe it. She'll be 16 this year. But I developed a liver condition towards the end of my pregnancy that you can get, and it can be really dangerous. And I got taken into hospital and monitored, and I was given a drug, and then I developed preeclampsia, and it all went wrong. So I was induced, that all went wrong. But anyway, it was all fine in the end.
I thought we were talking about Horlicks.
Yeah, I know. But the reason I mentioned Horlicks...
There's a habit of doing this.
Tangents. Every night at about 9 o'clock, this lovely lady came round with a trolley asking if anybody wanted a milky drink. And I always used to have Horlicks.
Beautiful.
And that's the last time I had Horlicks, and I just suddenly had a craving for it. So I bought myself a jar of Horlicks,
Easter treat.
hoping it would still taste the same, and it did.
Well, there you go.
And it was fantastic.
There's some things that you just
and I'd
can't
like
mess
one
with.
right now. I've only had two. I had 2 cups, and I've not had any more since, but I must.
This has been the Easter of shocks, and I shall tell you why. Because as my Lego love was waning just a little, someone else in the house has decided that she loves doing Lego.
I had a little go. We bought Bryony for Easter. We bought, there's a new Legos come out recently, and it's Winnie the Pooh. It's Winnie the Pooh's tree. You know, his house that's a tree, and it's got all the characters in it, and it's just adorable.
Now, before all of you people, and you think, oh yeah, Winnie the Pooh, that'll be perfect for my 3, 4, 5-year-old.
Yeah,
the set is for 18 and over.
Yeah, it's one of
for
these
experienced builders.
Yeah, it's one of these ideas sets. When I ordered it, I got 2 free things.
Yeah, brilliant.
And one of them was just a little Easter. It's like a little bunny popping out of an egg, only small. But the other thing was quite a big thing. It was like a little house in the shape of a carrot, and it's got a rabbit in it. So they were free, and I made the small thing.
It wasn't that small. You're making it out to be like...
It did have a few pieces.
Not challenging, and...
Oh, I loved it. I sat there and we were watching a film, Star Trek. It's been the Easter of Star Trek.
It most certainly has been the Easter of Star Trek.
Yeah.
I've realised, I don't know why I neglected those films for so long.
We've been watching all the original Star Trek films, and there's a couple of them that are terrible, like really bad.
One of them's terrible.
Well, one of them is shockingly bad.
Yeah, I mean, we'll save the details for our Star Trek show. But
and the
Star Trek 5 isn't great.
No,
but all
terrible.
The others, the first Star Trek.
The first one is so slow.
The story's great.
True. Yeah,
all the characters
brilliant.
are great, but the direction's awful. It's just very slow. They clearly haven't sort of nailed down on the pacing.
Why show something in a minute when you can do it in 7 minutes? The other ones we loved, and our favourite one is The Voyage Home with the whales.
Well, it's a tricky one, isn't it? Because
I love that film so much.
Because The Wrath of Khan is brilliant.
Yeah, The Wrath of Khan's good.
And then also The Search for Spock is really good. And then The Voyage Home is really good.
Yeah,
but
those
also
three are brilliant.
The Undiscovered Country is really good.
Yeah.
Star Trek 6.
Although I don't really remember that one very much.
Well, that's why we need to watch it again.
Because we've watched so many, I think they've all kind of blurred. Apart from the whale one, it's just my favourite.
Shall I tell you something? When you go back and you watch those, it makes you realise a few things. But the first thing that you realise is how ahead of their time those films were. Because they are so much better than the reboot.
Yeah, and Bryony loves the newer ones, you know, with Chris Pine.
Well, hold on a minute. We asked her to give her top 5, and the only one, it might have even been top 10. I think
No, it was 5.
Right. Well, Star Trek Into Darkness came 5th.
Yeah. Whereas if we'd asked her that before she watched the original ones,
well, she had no.
No, she had no comparison to it, but she much prefers the original ones.
Yes, you're not going to believe this. We have, over the years, spoken long and hard about our dislike of peppermints from many other shops other than Booth's. Booth's being our favourite. In fact, we've spoken about and we've tried lots of other herbal tisanes, all of which smell great and taste like water. So, of course, Booth's peppermint tea, delicious. We held that on such a high level. Kay found the Birchall's tea, peppermint tisane, which we mentioned a few shows back now.
Yeah.
And initially we didn't like it, and then we've come to really love it. We bought some peppermint tisane from Booth's.
Yeah.
We thought, we'll give it a try. Hey, Birchall's is only better.
It is. It absolutely is. And it's funny, you kind of get used to something, don't you, I suppose? But we found the Birchall's one.
It's got such a deep...
It's really minty, and it really stays with you. It's
absolutely
fantastic.
does.
So you can buy it online. Great service.
Buy it online, but also Booths sell it.
Booths. Well, they don't sell the peppermint one.
But what they do sell is.
But they sold other Birchall's tea, like normal tea, and I bought myself a little box of just normal breakfast tea.
And where would you put it in your tea rankings?
It was great.
Is it?
I nearly finished the box. Yeah, it was only like 15 bags. It was those pyramid posh bags.
Would you say it's the nicest tea?
It's the nicest tea I've had for a while, yeah. And I normally drink Rington's tea. Rington's, the ones in the blue packet, breakfast tea, I think.
So are you likely to be ordering some more?
Well, I think I will order some. When I next order some peppermint, I think I will order some more of that. And you got some Red Bush.
And when I brewed it up, it's the reddest
Red Bush.
And it honestly, without any shadow of a doubt, it's the most gorgeous flavoured Red Bush ever.
Yeah.
But I prefer now.
You prefer Earl Grey Red Bush.
Yeah.
And
see,
I don't know if they do that. I need to check to see if they do that. But I would really highly recommend Birchall's if you're a tea lover, and they do other infusions as well. I'm sure there was other herbal teas there. But definitely check them out.
If you're looking for jumpers, you've come to the right place.
Wow.
If you're looking for lovely socks, you've come to the right place.
Yes.
Oh yes. And if you want some gorgeous colour work, well, I'd go somewhere else because it's not. No. You've come to the right place. So without further ado, it's time for me to ask Kay Jones, what's on your needles?
Well, the first.
Thank goodness it's needles.
It is needles. It's this pair of lovely socks. So.
Wow.
I just fancied making a scrappy pair of socks. I've not done a pair for ages, and I love knitting scrappy socks. And I thought I'll make a pair for Bryony, because she's not had a pair of socks off me for, Christmas maybe. No, that can't be right. Anyway, it's been a little while. And her favourite colour is blue. She loves blue, and in particular she loves that sort of, I'm not sure what shade it is. There's a shade in these socks, so I'll show you and you can tell me what shade it is. It's that sort of aqua blue. It's not turquoise, so maybe it's like light turquoise. I don't know. Anyway, so I started a pair of scrappy socks and I went through all of my leftover bits and pieces and pulled out all of the colours that I thought she would really like. I'm only using each of the colours once. What I did was I worked out how many rows I needed for a sock, and then I worked out how to divide that so that I know how many rows per colour to do to make sure that it ends right at the toe, that there's the same number of rows per stripe. So I did all that. And I decided actually to knit one of my patterns, because there's a pair of socks that Bryony absolutely loves. It's one of her favourites. She's worn them and worn them and worn them, and they're still absolutely fine. They've been washed a million times and they're still brilliant. And it's my Mr. Fisher design. Now, the original pair was knit with a sock set from Lay Family Yarns. Enchanted Wood, it was called, one of Kelly's colours, and I absolutely loved it. And I've just used the very last bit of it in one of my blankets. Gorgeous colourway. So I thought, well, Mr. Fisher works, the thought of doing blues works really well, because it reminds me of Moss Eccles tarn that I've mentioned recently, because I'm designing a pair of socks based on it. But that's where Beatrix Potter came up with the idea of Jeremy Fisher. And actually somebody asked us in the comments on the last episode what a tarn was, and I kept correcting myself because I kept calling it a lake. And I'm not sure of the actual history of that word. I know there will be one.
Yeah. Well,
but it's basically just a small lake, isn't it?
I just pop it into Google and it will all become clear.
Right.
Because unfortunately I've got no idea.
Yeah,
so
that's where the sort of inspiration for it came. So I've started a pair of scrappy socks using my Mr. Fisher pattern. Here is my progress. Oh, I love it so much. It's so fun.
Hold on a minute. It's all coming back to me now.
Is it?
If you touch me like this. Sorry.
What?
That's Celine Dion.
Oh, not Celine. Sorry, I shouldn't say not Celine Dion. She's not my cup of tea. I'm sorry.
A tarn, as I recall, I think a tarn is a inland water. It's inland
body of water.
It's an inland body of water that was formed by ice.
Right.
by
Yes, I get
what were
you.
they called in the Ice Age?
Glaciers.
Glaciers.
Is it glaciers or glaciers? I don't know. Anyway.
Well, I think if you're having a mint, it's glacier.
Fox's Glacier Mint. That's right.
I think if you're talking
that's how I'm going to
glacier,
think of it.
No. I think it's glacier. Oh, I don't know. Who knows?
You see, I would say
dream?
glacial flow, but I wouldn't say glacial flow. So
Glacier.
maybe it's glacier then.
Well, I would say glacier.
Right. Okay.
But I drink Earl Grey and I went to public school.
That's true.
But yeah, a tarn, as I recall, is an inland body of water formed by a glacier.
Right. Excellent. That's good to know. And the Lake District is full of them. So here's my Mr. Fisher sock, and it's got these little sort of twisted stitches, left and right twisted stitches you can see there, and then garter ridges. And the design is the little V's that you can see. That's Mr. Fisher's little feet. What are they called? What are frogs' feet called?
Feet.
Are they just feet?
Well, they've got legs and feet.
I wanted to say paws,
They're
but
not paws.
Clearly they're not paws. Mr. Fisher's feet, that's his feet hopping about on the lily pads on the tarn, and then the garter ridges are the ripples coming out.
That totally looks like ripples.
Yes. I absolutely adore this design.
So do I.
I remember knitting this up and remember absolutely loving knitting it. I just thought, when I thought I wanted to knit another pair of, scrappy socks, I thought, I'm absolutely going to do that design.
The colours are perfect.
Yeah, and this is the shade that Bryony loves the most, right. This one here.
The other thing that I love about those socks is they are totally unisex.
Oh, it's absolutely unisex, yes. This pattern. Yeah,
and I'd
it's
never
absolutely
really thought
unisex.
about that before.
Yeah, and the other thing about whenever you put pearl stitches into a sock is, it's really squishy, which is brilliant, but also it gives a nice bit of, I find, horizontal stretch as well. It's nice and stretchy that way, as well as being stretchy that way. So I think it just fits your foot really nicely, and I think that's why Bryony always gravitates towards this pair. So I'm doing the 3 repeats of each of the pattern, on each colour, and that's going to work really well. But I've got a little surprise, because you might think, she's on the first sock, and that's all lovely. Ha-ha!
Amazing!
I've got 2 socks because I'm working them together, and I don't normally do this. The only reason I don't normally have 2 socks on the go at one time is because I don't like splitting my yarn into 2 balls, and it's only because I like to just have one bit of leftovers at the end of a project. But because this is scrappy and I've got a million little balls of yarn, I thought, well, I can absolutely do that. And it's a great experiment just to see how I feel about working this way with socks. And so far, I'm absolutely loving it. It's not bothering me at all to do one and then go across and do the other, especially with scrappy ones. I'm doing one colour on here, and then I'm taking that colour and I'm doing it on here. One colour on here, one colour on here. And it's working brilliantly well. Aren't they lovely? So I'll just hold up one of the yarns and I'll tell you the yarns I can sort of remember. Oh, and the other thing that I'm doing, in the pattern for Mr. Fisher, it tells you to just cast on with your contrast colour and then move on to your main colour. So you just get this tiny bit of colour at the top of your cuff. I decided to do 1 round. I cast on and did 1 round in this tealy blue, which is this one. This is a Cascade Heritage, and it's Deep Ocean is the colourway, and I'm going to use this for the top of the cuff, the heel and the toe. So I did just 1 round of rib, and then I moved into that next colour. This one is one of mine, just that I had lying around. The blue that Bryony loves is a Rivenet, one of their minis. I couldn't tell you the exact colour, but it's one of their minis. They do like a whole array of colours. And this one, the Rivenets, is a BFL, so that's why I've put that into the leg. I didn't want that anywhere where it was going to get high wear, because there's no nylon in that bit. This one I can't remember, unfortunately. This one is my Cinderella colourway, that I've knit my Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo socks in, and I've then just moved on to this one, which again I can't remember, but it's gorgeous. It's like that sort of colour that Bryony loves, with then lots of specks in. And then I've got some others. These are all the other colours that I've got waiting to go in. So you can see it's going to be really lovely. This one I think is a felt fusion. I'm a bit dubious about this one, only because it's not the brightness, but I've used a felt fusion yarn before and it pulled.
No.
So I'm a bit nervous about using that one.
Ew.
So I may use that, I may not. I'm not decided yet. But I'm really, really enjoying them.
I love that blue one so much.
Well, that's another one that I dyed. Can you remember Bryony's crochet blanket that I think I showed last time? And do you know I crocheted in a rainbow of colours? This was the blue that I dyed up for that rainbow. I think it's like a royal blue that I used. Or it might be brilliant blue. The dye colour, I'm thinking. It might be brilliant blue.
It's so textural.
It's gorgeous. It's a gorgeous shade of blue. I'm really into blue. Last week it was green, wasn't it? And now, because I'm knitting these
looks
socks...
lovely too. The twist looks like...
It's just a 75-25.
Amazing.
So yeah, I'm just loving, absolutely loving knitting these socks. And, you know, I think they look... Oh, aren't they fun? Scrappy socks are just the best. I just love them so. Scrappy projects are just the best for me. I get way more enjoyment out of knitting something with little bits of leftovers, because, you know, you're always thinking, oh yeah, you know, I dyed that one, so I remember dyeing that one and what my inspiration was.
Also, it's engaging thinking about what colours are going to work.
Yeah, and I like going and I'll put the colours next to like this and go, and which one is going to look best in sequence, and then it's exciting seeing that little bit knit up into the pattern. And it's just, you know, I just love the texture of this one. I'm really, really pleased that I decided to, you know, re-knit this design. I think it's gorgeous. So I'm doing the size medium, 64 stitches, and I'm using my Chowgoo mini twists. The one thing that I've noticed can happen with these mini twists, and it's happened with one of the cables of mine, and I have to be careful not to use that one, is that sometimes I find that just something weird happens to the cable and it kind of won't stop. You know how, you know, Magic Loop sits like this, doesn't it? Nice and neat. But I've got one cable that just keeps crossing on itself like that. No matter what I do, you know, I uncross it each time and it just keeps doing it. It must be something with, you know, it's got kinked or something, I don't know, but I just can't use that cable anymore. It could be something to do with the thinness, I'm not sure, and that's just something I've noticed. But I've got two is identical needles. I don't do two at a time on the same needle, it's just not my thing at all, but doing it this way is brilliant. I'm loving it so far.
And are they matched?
Yes, they're matched.
Right.
I only started these a couple of days ago, literally 2 days ago. I couldn't put them down. I was just so into it and just loving them so much. I was knitting away on these and watching back episodes of Gardener's World. Oh, it's like heaven. Dan Jones?
Yes.
What's on your needles?
It's the Inga hat, and it makes me want to sing the theme tune to Tinga
Tales.
Inga hat.
Bryony used to like Tinga Tales.
That was a programme on CBeebies.
I think it probably still is on.
I don't think so.
Is it not?
No, I'm certainly not aware of it.
Oh, right.
Wasn't Floella Benjamin?
Floella Benjamin did one of the voices.
That woman is a legend.
She's brilliant. She does one of the voices on Chuggington now.
She was Playaway, wasn't she?
Playaway, yeah.
And was she on the programme?
No, not Playaway. Play School.
Play School.
She wasn't on Playaway. Was she on Playaway? No, it was the fellow, Brian Cant on Playaway. No,
Brian Cant.
Floella Benjamin did Play School with Big Ted and Little Ted and Hamble and what was the ragdoll called? Can't remember.
And then we watched Brian Cant, of course, on Dappledown Farm.
I never watched that.
You did?
I didn't.
You did. We watched it together.
What?
We thought it was hilarious.
Did we?
We did.
I don't remember that.
Yes, we did. Because what was worrying, we used to watch it before we went to work.
What?
And what was worrying was we didn't have any children.
I don't remember this at all. We used to watch a children's television programme before we went to work.
We did.
I'm not sure we should be telling people this.
It was hilarious because it was full of in-jokes.
Right.
Do you not remember the bit?
No.
Do you not remember the bit where he was talking to one of the animals that was a puppet, and he was saying how you get seeds to grow on something, and he says, "Oh, if you stick it in." To get seeds to grow, you stick it in a pot of compost.
Right.
And the little animal thing said, "If you stick your head in there, would your hair grow back?" There was, because Brian Camp was bald, and they had jokes like that all the time.
I don't
yes, it
remember.
was for children, but there was
absolutely no memory.
there were so many adult in jokes. It was just hilarious. And Brian Camp, I mean, really, we grew up watching Brian Camp.
Brian Camp, but Tony Hart on Takeoff.
Floella Benjamin, though, was on the telly when we were kids, and she's still on the telly now.
She looks exactly the same.
Entertaining our children.
Yeah, I'm sure that woman has not aged a day.
So, the Inga hat. The question was, can you see the...
I think you can.
Well, more than I think.
It looks...
It's there.
Do you know what it reminds me of?
What?
It's like tapestry. It reminds me of a tapestry fabric. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So
I think it looks fantastic.
We've got the lovely Latvian braid at the bottom.
Gorgeous.
Which was super fun to do. And then just a little band of plain knitting. And then you're into the colour work here, which is just great. And what has been marvellous...
I love it. Is this a hat?
Yeah.
Can I have it?
Well, yeah.
Fabulous.
Of course. What has been challenging... You can hold it if you like, because I know you like to hold these things.
I wish I could put it on my head.
What has been challenging with this has been the length of the repeat, because the repeat length is massive.
Yeah.
And that, when I first started doing it, it was taking me quite a lot of concentration to nail it, because I didn't want to put in extra markers, because this is all about stretching my abilities. So I thought, right, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to focus, and I'm so glad I did it, because it becomes habit, and you get into the groove, and your speed improves. It's slowly but surely improving. It's not up to the sort of level I would want it quite yet.
Oh, look at that.
Isn't it gorgeous? It is lovely.
Wow.
It's just such a lovely pattern, and it's a free pattern.
I'm going to love this so much.
And it's by Sheila MacDonald, and it really is great. It's just great fun. For me, it's quite challenging. So, if you're an experienced colourwork knitter, you might just nail it and you might be fine. But if you're not quite so experienced like me, then it might be a bit more challenging for you. And so I found it a perfect sort of thing to do right at the moment as I'm getting into the colourwork on some of my yoked sweaters. It just keeps my colourwork technique high, so that then because that's the mistake I think people make. It's certainly the mistake I've made historically, particularly on the Solia, and also as well, not so much, I think I learnt my lesson on the Solia. So when I did the cardigan, that wasn't the Clairquot, because I did lots of the hats, lots of the Clairquot toques, but still I didn't have it on the go at the same time, and having this on the go at the same time as doing the yoke on the Radari has been perfect. It's really helped.
The colours are lovely.
The colours are gorgeous, and I said to you before when you were worried, I honestly felt really happy with it.
It's when you stand back from it that you really see it, I think, isn't it? Which is perfect for a hat, because it's going to be viewed from a distance, isn't it? People are not going to come right up to your head.
No, and there's an element of subtlety to it.
Yeah, and I
love that.
I was just thinking, what yarn is this? It's lovely. And then I realised I'd dyed it.
Both?
Yes.
Wow. Oh, yeah, because, of course...
It's the figgy pudding set that I dyed for you for Christmas.
Yes.
And... it's these two.
Amazing.
Figgy pudding is the most complex colour I have ever dyed, and I did not really very much of it. Can you see all the different shades that are in there? It just takes such a long time to dye, so I very rarely dye it, but I did for Dan, because it was a Christmas present.
Oh, it's perfect.
It is. I mean, it's such a lovely colourway.
And also the what's the base? What's the?
It's just a DK.
Well, it's lovely to work with.
I can't remember if there's nylon in it or if it's 100% merino. I can't remember.
What I like about this, and I know I've said this before, but what I like about this is it's not one that someone would say, "Oh yes, it's great for colour work for."
No, you wouldn't.
And actually, that is great for me, because it means you have to work a lot harder to get a nice, smooth-looking fabric. And that's what you want to make sure that you're good at, so that when you're knitting something on a bigger project, it's going to look as good as it possibly can look. The thing that I'm really focused on at the moment, and I'll talk more about that when I show the Radari, which I'm going to show you later on, when you go from plain knitting into colour work, it looks...
The gauge is the same.
Yes,
because that's a really big thing, that, isn't it? You know, your gauge can be a lot tighter when you work in colour work. And quite often people will...
No. It's looser.
No, it's not.
It is on mine.
Well, I think on most people it's tighter.
Well, on mine, it looks all lovely, and then it loosens all off.
Maybe you're overcompensating then for the floats, because normally it's tighter, and you know, a pattern might recommend that you use a bigger needle size when you work in your colour work.
How do they look?
Well, I think they look great, those floats.
This project is fine. It's the other one.
Right.
That you know, it's...
Everyone's different though, you know, so...
Well, that's the problem I've always had. When I get into the colour work, it opens up.
Right.
And I want it to stay tighter.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks fine. Yeah. And I think with blocking...
It's such a tricky thing, isn't it, colour work, to get that gauge. And I think it is just practice.
And I think an element of it too is practicing on... It's all right practicing on a little, you know, hat, but actually what you've got to do is you've got to do lots of big number. Because I just find when you've got the big bulky... When there's lots going on, there's lots there, it's harder to... You know, this is easy, it's light, you know, there's two little balls and, you know, it's not difficult. But then on the other thing... It's so big that, you know, to keep the technique
that can affect your tension, you know, having the weight of all the garment underneath it. So it's definitely, you know, good to try a jumper.
Absolutely.
You know,
that's the Inga hat. Great fun.
Gorgeous. Love
Speeding up slowly but surely.
I look forward to wearing that in the winter.
Yes, absolutely. Although it has been rather cold.
It has been, you know, quite cold, which I'm loving, to be honest. We're not complaining one tiny bit.
It's lovely actually on the morning. This time of year, it is lovely on the morning because it's cold and it's clear.
Frosty,
and maybe it's a bit misty. Perfect. What else is on your needles?
Well, I'm also working on a hat. And I'm still working on this hat. This is the pink ribbed hat that I'm making for Bryony, that's inspired by a hat that a BTS member wore. I am getting a little weary of what the 1x1 rib, I'll be honest. But look, I've done loads. Look how much I've done. And it looks great, 1x1 rib. Could have bought that in a shop, couldn't you?
Yeah.
So if you were just, you know, if this was just a normal hat, I'd be well done by now. Oh, that's attractive, isn't it? No,
it's okay.
You see, if it was a normal hat, I'd be done. And really, I could do that, couldn't I? Because look, there's the little patch I made. Oh, do you know what? I could absolutely just do it as this size, but I won't, because it's supposed to have a folded brim. But I made this little patch because it's very comfortable. I love it. I might want one for me now. A 1x1 ribbed hat. It's so nice. I don't like hats to be really tight on my head, and this feels lovely. Now I'll take it off, and that'll muck my hair up now, won't it? Oh dear, it's not a hairdressing show. So, the actual hat that the band member wears was actually double cuffed, I've realised. I thought it was just cuffed over once, but when I went back to look at it, I realised it was a double cuff. And when you do that, I've actually not really knit very much at all. So it was double cuffed over like that.
You're not doing it to double cuff length?
Well, I was.
Oh, crumbs.
So it's double cuffed over like that, and then this little patch, people did tell me the name of the design, and I went and looked, and I think it's like $120 or something to buy one. So kudos for me for making one out of ball of yarn that cost £3. Yeah. And I made this little felt patch which looks like the one on the hat. So when you look at it like that, look, I've still got quite a way to go, haven't I? But if I was just to cuff it once, then I'm kind of closer, aren't I? But then I think it won't look exactly like the hat if it's only cuffed once, will it? But would that matter? I don't think she'd be bothered. If it's just cuffed once, look, I've done all that.
More of the question is, would she wear a double cuffed hat?
See, she might not do. It might be too warm for her.
Yeah.
I'm talking myself into it, aren't I, now? Just to do a, turn over once
also,
like that.
if you double cuff it, won't that make... Because when you cuff it, it always feels a bit tighter around where you've cuffed it.
Well, it would make it thicker, wouldn't it?
So it's going to make it... It's going to make it more tighter. That's bad English.
What does that look like, just cuffed over once? I think that's okay, isn't it?
Well, yeah, so do I.
And if I put the little thing... Oh, I can't do it looking in the thing. Oh, that's really difficult. I think that'd be okay. Do you know what? I think I'm going to do that. And then, actually, look, I've not got that much further to go, have I?
Maybe you should just run it by her.
I will. Oh, maybe I won't, because then she might say she wants it cuffed twice. Whoops. And if I just do it as cuffed once, she won't know the difference, will she? She's not going to be able to know.
Well, no, not if she doesn't know it's cuffed twice. No. Oh, well, no. So there you go then.
So maybe that's what I'll do.
Yeah.
And would I have to, because this shows on the outside, I'm wondering whether I should just whip stitch the cuff up a little bit.
Yeah.
Just to keep it in place.
Yeah.
Not all the way round, but if I just put a few little stitches.
Yeah, definitely.
Then it'll keep it in that place, won't it?
Yeah.
I think I might do that. So, that's good to have looked at it like that, because I realised I'm not that far off the decreases really now. So it's just one by one, and I use the cast-on number that's it's a free pattern from Pearl Soho. The only thing I'll modify is I will look at the decreases on that hat, but they're very long, and I think what I'll do is I'll just do less rows in between the decreases just to get a shorter... I don't like decreases on a hat that are really long, because it can give that sort of strange elf look, can't it? Which I don't think Bryony would want. So I'll maybe just shorten those decreases. But I'm using Stylecraft Special DK, and the colourway is Fondant, just a gorgeous Barbie pink. And I've got this much left, loads. So I'm easily going to do it with one ball. I did buy two. I don't know what I was thinking, really. But it's lovely yarn. It's cheap. You can get it in a massive range of colours. It's lovely to knit with. Absolutely lovely. What?
No, it just sounded funny the way you said it.
I know, but, there are some people out there, who would maybe go, gosh, I can't believe you're using that yarn.
Why?
I don't know. There are people.
How much was that?
£3 or something.
How much is this Lopi? £3 or something?
Well, it is. Yeah, that's true.
So you could say the same thing about Lopi.
That is true. You
wouldn't hear anyone, would you, saying...
No.
What you're using Lopi for?
No.
Because it's all about...
That's absolutely true.
It's all about manufactured... opinions.
I suppose really the opinion is that this is acrylic, and a lot of people don't like using acrylic because we know it's made from petrol, and we know all that, and that's not good.
No.
However, not everybody is in the position to be able to spend £10-15 on a skein of yarn.
Yeah.
And I think it's better that you're crafting and you're knitting, even if you have to use yarn that some other people wouldn't use. I don't have a problem with it at all. You've really got to work to your own personal circumstances, haven't you, and do what you want to do. And if you're comfortable doing it, then that's absolutely fine. And this is acrylic, but this hat will be used for years and years and years, and I think that's absolutely fine.
Absolutely.
So I'm just going to carry on with that. You never know, that maybe that'll be done for next time. I'm just picking this up every night while we're watching sort of Downton, and just working on it for maybe 20 minutes or something, and then putting it down again. But it just shows you that it does grow. These things do grow. It might look like it's not growing, but I think it was sort of way down here, wasn't it, when I showed you before? So they grow. Just keep plugging away and you'll get there. But now I've tried that on my head, I really want one, which means I've got to knit another one by one hat. But you see, I wouldn't want it cuffed, so that wouldn't be as much to knit, would it?
Whoa!
Oh, wow!
Look at
that!
It's the Ridari. It's marvellous.
Wow!
Oh my goodness. The sleeves are on, the colourwork's off, and it's looking really nice. I'm super pleased, actually. It looks great.
Sleeves and everything.
I'm currently working with 3 yarns. The 3 yarns are back. I had a couple of rows with just 2. I had 3 on the go, and then down to 2, and then back up to 3 again.
The bottom, look.
And you'll see
fantastic.
what I was referring to here was the difference between down here and up here. Do you see how this looks looser and a bit wider apart?
Well, a little bit.
I just want it to flow through.
It's pretty good though, Annie, I've got to say.
Well, you're very kind to say that.
Well, I would tell you if it was rubbish, you know that.
I still want it to flow through.
But, well, it's brilliant. Anybody would be happy with that colour work.
This Lopi yarn.
I'd be thrilled if I'd done that colour work. I think it looks fantastic. The colours are brilliant, which we didn't choose.
The designer chose the colours.
Totally copied the pattern.
As you'll recall, this is my self-contained knitter project. You know, this is my goal, to start a project on my own, to pick the yarn myself, to run through and finish it off myself. So when I looked at this, I'll be honest with you, I didn't look at it and think, oh, I'm not going to pick my own yarns because I don't know what I'm doing when it comes to picking yarns. I looked at it and saw the lovely man with the rope on his shoulder and thought, I want to look like him. So that was the reason why I picked these colours, because they are just perfect.
Brilliant, and it'll really suit you. Hold it against you.
Now, I've decided...
It's brilliant.
I've decided that this is my Moors jumper.
Ah, right, okay.
And
the green one is for the Dales.
Yes.
Perfect.
The anniversary jumper is for the Dales. Now, I'm so looking forward to putting on this and just a gilet.
I know.
And going for it.
Or maybe just that in certain weathers.
Well, yeah. I mean, probably more weathers than you'd realise. What I'm so excited about is experimenting with this in different weathers, because people say that it's really waterproof, don't they?
Yeah, yeah.
That's mental.
Yeah, I think it is. It does. You know, a downpour. I'm not so sure about that, but yeah, I mean, it definitely will wick the water away.
It is the most fun project. It really is. The colour work is surprisingly challenging.
Yeah, I know you've been concentrating really hard. He's been sat there and I can tell he's like...
Well, it's because you really don't want to mess it up. That would really bother me if I had to tink it back. But so long as you keep your wits about it. I mean, again, if you're an experienced, colourwork yoke knitter, you'll probably do it without thinking about it. But for me, I've only done really 2 or 3, well, 2, and this has been the most challenging in the yoke design.
I love it.
But my goodness, it's fun.
The colour of the main yarn, I think, is fantastic. It's not flat at all, is it? It's gorgeous. You've done such a brilliant job with it.
That's so kind of you to say. I mean, what's so exciting now is, as you're nearing the end, it's like, it's the first time ever I've knit anything big for myself.
Yeah.
I've knit myself hats. That's it.
Yeah.
I've not really knit myself anything. No. And to go through that journey of spotting something I wanted to knit for myself and then starting to knit it for myself and getting excited about the process of finishing it and
it's something you'll have forever.
I know.
You'll have that forever.
I know.
And that's just an amazing thing, isn't it? We can, if it gets holes in the elbows, we can darn it. But I think it's just going to be around for years. And
the colours are here. So it's so there's a black, there's an oatmeal.
I think the straw, barley,
that's it, not
and murky is the main colour.
Correct.
That brown is murky.
Yes.
I think straw and barley and black.
Yes.
I think is what it is.
And you just have to be a bit careful with the black, because
it's a bit pulls apart dead easy.
And that, of course, then sets up the challenge of getting the gauge right, because you're worried about tightening it too much and it splitting, because I don't want that to happen.
No.
It's the most wonderful project, though. Loving every minute of it. I can't wait to finish it and wear it and cast on another.
Well, you've already got the green one on the go. I know. But you'll want another one.
Correct.
I need to keep my eye on Lopi. I'll check it again, actually, because I know it's certain times of year when the stock comes back in.
Yeah.
Because as soon as I spot it, we should get another sweater's worth in whatever colours, maybe blues.
Yes.
Because there's a brown, there's a green, but maybe blues might work for you.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. And I think what should happen is you should give me the only way I'm going to learn how to pick colours for a project is if you give me a palette to choose from.
Right.
So if you go, right, okay,
right,
I've decided I want to do something bluey, these colours, these 10 colours would all work.
Right.
Now you pick which ones you like the best.
All right.
Because if you don't do that, it'll be a disaster and I'll look like an idiot. And you have to start somewhere, don't you? So if Kay helps me with the palette, from there then I should be able to then the next time go, right, okay, pick the palette, make sure I've picked a palette that works, and then pick the colours from it. What else is on your needles?
Well, the last thing that I've been working on is something that did start out as a pair of socks, but I just decided to change my mind. And I'd sort of had this on the go for ages, and for whatever reason I just hadn't picked it back up to work on as a pair of socks. But then I just suddenly, it was when I was out having a walk one morning, I always, pretty much always wear my wrist ticklers, which is a free pattern of mine. It's just like a little wrister. Just a very basic little wrister. And I've got the original pair that I made out of scraps. I'm here again onto with the scrappy projects. And I literally, honestly, I think I wear them every single time I go out, apart from when it's really warm. But I just really like that it keeps your wrist warm, even if you don't necessarily need it for your hands, if it's a little bit warm or whatever. I think it's one of those things, do you know, it's like if you, in the summer, when you're really hot, it's really good, isn't it, if you run your wrists over cold water or put them in cold water.
Oh, I remember doing that.
It cools you down,
yeah,
because your veins, I think, are very close to the surface here.
Yeah.
If you put your wrists in cold water, it really feels like it's cooling your body down. And I think that works the other way as well, that if you keep your wrists warm, it kind of makes the whole body feel warm.
Well, it must do, mustn't it?
Yeah, it must do. I thought to myself, do you know what? I've got that pair of socks that I haven't worked on for a while, but actually they would make a brilliant pair of wrist ticklers.
You just saying that, as you've reminded me of being stood in the kitchen of the house where I grew up,
right,
with my hands under the sink, running cold water.
Yeah, I do that all the time in the summer.
But also being stood there, and I've not thought of this since the last time I was there doing that, which is probably 35 years ago. I remember after going out and like helping work on the car or whatever, and all covered in oil, I remember having swarfiga. Have you heard of swarfiga?
I think I've heard of it.
It's like a green jelly.
Does it remove all oil and stuff?
Yeah, it's
right.
like certainly back then. I don't know if it's still around.
Mechanics type product.
It must be, but it smelt amazing.
Oh, right.
And I remember what used to happen was, if it was really ground in, my dad would put swarfiga on my hands, and then he would put a bit of Ariel on.
Oh, right.
Like fabric.
Washing powder. Wow.
And then go rub it on your hands, and that'll get it all off.
Yeah, it's biological, isn't it? I'd never use biological washing powder these days, but things like Bold and Ariel, they're biological, but they'd strip paint off the walls, wouldn't they? I use non-bio washing powders and liquids and things. Anyway, tangent. So yeah, I decided to make this pair of socks as was into a pair of my wrist ticklers, and one of them was almost finished. I'd got to the right point. I just added a rib on the top. So here's one look,
wow.
And aren't they fantastic? I'll pop it on. So yeah, here's the little wrist warmer, and I just pull it up. You can just pull it up over your fingers. You can even sort of tuck your fingers inside when it's super cold. And then you can just pop your hands out. They're brilliant things. They are perfect. I love wrist warmers. And when it's warm, you can just tuck it right down, and it looks great peeking out of even out of a jumper. I think it looks really great. It just adds a pop of colour. So the yarn,
and strangely reminiscent of a leg warmer.
It is. That's what it is, isn't it? It's an arm warmer, basically.
Warmer for your arms.
It's an arm warmer, is what it is.
That was such a cool look. It's such a shame it's not in anymore.
Leg warmers?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, little girls could wear leg warmers, couldn't they?
I could totally wear them when I'm out running with my tights.
Maybe people do still wear leg warmers when they're working out and things, maybe.
Oh, that's cool.
I don't know.
Go for it if you are.
I don't know. I'm not really in with these fashion things to know enough. But it's really lovely yarn. And the colour's gorgeous. And it's a self-striping, as you can see, and it's from Stripy Cat Yarns. And it's platform 9 3/4. Lovely Harry Potter reference. And I've got the other one on the go. So the other one is here, look.
2 at a time.
Well, it's not. It's not, is it? Because I finished one. But the other one's well on the way.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to match the number of rows. I counted how many rows I'd done on this one, and I'll just match it on this one. For whatever reason, I must have been out of my Chowgoo needles. For this pair, I'm using higher sharps. Oh, I don't like it. I'm carrying on because I don't like to change needles partway through a project because the gauge can look different, can't it? So I'm persevering, but I don't like it at all. It's got such a lot of memory in the cable, and it just, it means when you pull your needle out, it kind of, it can curl back and sort of be bashing you in the hand as you're trying to knit. It's not my favourite needle at all, and the tips are okay. They are a bit too sharp for me. The high sharps are really like lethal weapons.
It's the most important thing, I think, on a pair of needles. If it's got bad tips, then it's going to hurt your fingers. And
yeah, and I mean, I do push my stitches as I work, but not so much that it would cause me a problem.
Oh, I have a nightmare.
I know you do a lot more than me.
Yeah.
So you could never work with high sharps.
That would be a nightmare.
Your finger would be through.
The tips on there are just perfect.
They're Chowgoos.
Yeah.
And they're great.
So
I think Chowgoos are just, they're lovely and tapered, but don't have that fierce point of a higher. But I'm persevering. I'm just using this as bedtime knitting now. It's dead simple, it's just round and round, and I get through, an inch or so every night, so it should be finished fairly soon. But I think they make great gifts as well.
Yeah.
And it does look very Harry Potterish, this, doesn't it? I think.
Yeah.
And I might just I might keep them for me, or I might just pop them away as a gift for someone for Christmas, because I think that would make a lovely gift. And I discovered the thing that revolutionised, for me, working a toe-up sock, and also this is where I discovered this particular method, was when I was knitting these. It's the bind-off. I don't generally like the stretchy bind-offs that you see. There's all kinds of stretchy bind-offs, isn't there, for the tops of socks when you've knit them toe-up. I've just never liked any of them when I've tried them. But this particular method is a sewn bind-off, and when I discovered it, it just transformed everything, because it looks just like a long tail cast on, and it doesn't flare. I'll just take out one of my hairs there. It doesn't flare. You can see this is the cast on and this is the bind off, and there's no flaring, and when you look at it up close, the construction of it looks almost identical, I think, to a long tail cast on. It's brilliant. So that's in the pattern for these wrist warmers, which is free, and I also used it for my umbrella socks, which are toe up, and it's made such a difference. It's so, there's no flaring at all. It's perfect. It's perfect. I absolutely love it. So I'm going to carry on with those, and I'll have either a lovely gift to stash away or some more for me.
Who's ready for another walk? Now, it may be sunny out there, but it's pretty darn chilly. So I suggest you grab your hat and your cowl and definitely your gloves as you come and join Kevin and me for more Walking the Dales. Welcome everyone to a brand new season of walks. Over the next few months we'll be undertaking 5 hikes in the Yorkshire Dales and 5 hikes in the North York Moors. We're going to be walking through a landscape I've spent the last 35 years exploring, and I can't wait to share with you some of my favourite destinations and the stories that surround them. From mysterious castles to beautiful forests and long forgotten villages, in this series we're going to undertake some wonderful adventures. But where are we heading today? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the classical Yorkshire Dales. We start today at Gilmanby Bridge, just on the outskirts of the town of Bowes, right in the heart of Teesdale. Now this is a place I've visited once before, and to say that it piqued my interest would be an understatement. The problem with this part of the world is it sits right on one of Northern England's most busiest roads, and when that happens, people tend to just drive straight through. They don't bother to stop and take in the view. And let me tell you, they really are missing out on something special. Today's walk is going to be focused very much around the River Greta. Meandering its way through some lush landscapes, it's the home to some really stunning sights. There's picturesque villages, some stunning waterfalls, all set against the backdrop of some really impressive British history. Just take a look at this. I told you it was pretty beautiful around here, didn't I? My goodness, what makes this walk extra special for me actually is it's a hotbed of Roman activity. Around about 80 AD, one of Rome's most famous generals, Agricola, arrived here with his 9th Legion. He actually built the road that I drove along today to get here. And also, they built a fort here. Now, there's not too much left of that fort. There's just the earthworks. But just knowing that we're walking in the footsteps of those Roman legionaries 2,000 years ago is going to be so much fun. Whilst the world has changed a lot in the 2,000 years since the Romans were here, the landscape really hasn't very much at all, because we're miles away from any big towns, so the development here has been really the bare minimum. This is nature at its best, so I think it's time that I shut up and we get going as we once again go walking the Dales.
The river Greta actually forms its own little valley. It's called the Greta Valley, funnily enough. And in the 18th century, this was one of the most popular places for some of the world's best painters to come and paint. Most notably was J.M.W. Turner, who was actually commissioned to come up here from London, which is where he was from. He was commissioned to come and paint 20 paintings to accompany a poem that had been written about one of the local houses called Rokeby. And when he came, he just completely fell in love with this part of the world, and throughout his life until he died in 1851, he said that the light here was just perfect for painting. Now Turner's actually got paintings. I was stunned. I'm not great on the art, and I couldn't believe he's got paintings everywhere in galleries all across the world, which is just amazing. And actually, even though Turner's, you know, as I said, he died in 1851, to this day, the Greta Valley is still one of the most popular places for painters to come and paint. And on a day like today, it's really not difficult to see why. Now then, look at this. Short diversion, folks, but it's going to be worth it. Oh yes. It's the first, hopefully, of 2 gorgeous waterfalls we're going to see on today's walk. But as fast as we've found the gorgeous Greta, we're going to have to leave her behind, because just up here is the first and the biggest of the settlements on today's walk. Momentary pause whilst I let this mother and her babies come through. We don't want to scare them too much, do we? We've branched off our trail to take a quick look this gorgeous church. Now, it once played host to Charles Dickens. He was staying at the inn just nearby. It's just a street away. It's still there, actually. And he became so inspired by this little place that he got to know two local characters quite well. One was William Shaw, the head teacher of the local school, and the other was George Taylor. And both of those people actually inspired him in the book that he was writing at the time, which was Nicholas Nickleby. William Shaw became Wackford Squeers, and George Taylor became Smike. And those two characters, actually, those two people, George Taylor and William Shaw, they're actually buried here. What a wonderful link to one of the world's most famous writers. Gorgeous little St Giles Church has got two characters buried in it that were in Nicholas Nickleby. Now then, as we leave St Giles Church behind and we rejoin the trail along the Greta Valley, which we've already discovered has been inspiring artists for hundreds of years, we're actually now walking into all that remains of the very first settlement that was built here 2,000 years ago. There is one clue to the importance of this site, because the one thing that you wouldn't expect to find here is a stonking great castle. Now, if you're anything like me, you're probably wondering, what on earth is this doing here? Well, it's all thanks to the Romans. When they arrived and started conquering Britain, around about 80 AD, they built roads. And whoever controlled the roads back then controlled the country, because it was the trade routes and it would enable armies to get around the country. So along the roads, the Romans would build forts. And this road, actually, the road that they built here, travelling from east to west, was one of the most important in the country. So this was at one time quite the fort. Now, fast forward 1,000 years, and another conquering army arrived, the Normans and William the Conqueror. And what they did basically was steal the Romans' idea. They went to all the forts that were already built. They were in disrepair by then, but still there was lots of stone left. And they built castles like this one, using the stone from the Romans' fort. It's a brilliant idea, really. There is one tantalising hint though of what lay here once before, because the Romans built their forts on a very specific layout, and the farmer has built his wall on exactly the layout that the fort once stood on, because these field boundaries have been here for absolutely generations. I mean, probably since the fort went out of use. And the playing card shape which the Roman fort once stood on, and the headquarters building was right there where that castle now stands, runs directly in front of me, right there. We're coming up on the next important destination on today's trail, and it's an important one because the second half of today's walk is going to take us over the other side of the River Greta and up onto the nearby moorland. But to do that, we need to find a way across the river, and I'm told there's a gorgeous bridge at the end of this path. So if there isn't, I'm going to get my feet wet. Fingers crossed, there is. Thank goodness this was here. This is amazing. It's as good as everybody told me it was going to be. And I'm really glad it's here because it's freezing today. And if I'd had to walk across this, first of all, it's a bit deep. And second of all, I don't think my boots would have coped with it. They're waterproof, but they're not that waterproof. You'd need scuba gear to get through that. So I'm just going to have a breather for a minute. And whilst I do that and I check my map and I see where we're heading next, you guys go off for a little rest, and I'll see you later in the show for part 2.
That is about as perfect a first half of a walk I've ever had.
I can't comment because I haven't seen it yet.
The way our production schedule normally works, Kay would normally have watched it by now and given me notes, and I then make alterations. That will still happen before you see it. She'll be doing that this afternoon, and then I'll be making any little adjustments. So Kay doesn't actually know what's coming either, but
can't wait.
A Roman fort, loads of lovely lambs, We've already seen one gorgeous waterfall. And also, you may have recognised the name of Alfred Wainwright. He's the guy who created that trail that we've just picked up, the Pennine Journey. And Alfred Wainwright now is an absolute legend, isn't he?
Yeah.
Because what he did was, he did lots of walks all over the country, but primarily it was in the Lake District, wasn't it?
Yeah, there's there's loads of books.
They call them the Wainwrights.
Yeah.
And people try and do them all.
There's loads.
I think there might be 147
Something
different
like that,
walks. Oh,
Scully, I bet Scully might have done them all.
that's one of our viewers who also takes part in our Amazonian Warrior Challenge, which of course you can come and take part in as well. That's a walking challenge where we're trying to walk the length of the Amazon. Full details of that are in the show notes below. But also we know that Scully, that viewer, she knows that she loves to go walking in the Lake District. So do you know what? It felt really cool because I've seen TV shows about Alfred Wainwright. They're
lovely books, actually. I think they have lots of sort of what looks like hand-drawn illustrations of the walks.
Yeah.
I've never actually seen one of them, but I've seen them on programmes, if you know what I mean. Yeah. And
the other thing that I'm really coming to love about the planning of these walks is I don't look for walks which people do. I get an Ordnance Survey map and I scour it and look for walks that I want to do, that I think we all might enjoy. And so to go and plan this walk and to find Alfred Wainwright, had picked up part of the walk and all of the other little tidbits of things. Because when I start planning it, there's many a time I'll sit down and start planning a walk and it just won't be right, so you'll move on. But every so often, you just strike it lucky. And when I tell you that we've struck it lucky, wait till you see the second half.
Ooh.
Oh my goodness.
Exciting.
We're going in search of a mystery waterfall. A place that people rarely go to.
Wow.
Because it's not really... It's on the map, but it doesn't tell you where it is.
Right.
So what I do actually, you'll watch later in the show, is I just look for certain landmarks and use that as a way. And that's how they did it in the old days. That's how people used to find, the way to get places. Do you know what I remember, actually? I remember the first time going to visit my mum in Somerset.
Right.
And I remember having written down on a piece of paper how to get there.
Well, I did that, if you remember, when I drove down...
To see your sister?
I had to, my sister passed away 13, 14 years ago now, and...
So you wrote down the directions?
I had to drive down to see her, that she lived in Aylesbury, and we're up in the northeast. It's a long journey.
No sat-navs?
No sat-navs at all, so...
No even getting the map out and thinking, where am I on the route?
No.
Write it down.
I had to go...
Use your eyes.
Yeah, Bryony was only a baby. I had to go by myself. You were working, and gosh, I was terrified, but I had to do it, And I wrote down the directions. We had driven down there, fairly recently, and I kind of remembered the route. I got there fine. Yeah, I got there fine.
It just shows you, doesn't it? We've become so obsessed is the wrong word. Satellite navigation has become such a part of our lives.
Yeah, and I think, to be honest, I trusted it more having it written down on a piece of paper than listening, because I know what sat-navs are like, and they can take you some weird direction, can't they? And I would have had to have listened to the sat-nav, and it could well have taken me off on a route that I wasn't familiar with.
And what I'm finding with doing these walks, whilst I do plan it on a map, and I do have the map on my phone with me, I very rarely look at the map. I only really look at it once. You try and... Because it grounds you in where you are.
Yeah,
so then if you get lost...
It definitely did. I remember being very aware of where I was on the road. There's a lot of motorway driving, which I really hate. But I was very aware of where I was. But if you're just thinking, just listening to that voice saying... Take the next exit, take this, do that. You
don't have to concentrate.
You don't really know. You could be anywhere, couldn't you? And you don't really know where you are. And I remember just being fully aware of exactly where I was at each stage, and I knew. So it was much better that I did it that way.
It was like the first and only time my mum used satellite navigation she put in the wrong postcode, and it took
Well, it's
her...
easily done, isn't it?
She was trying to get to my brother's house, and it took her to the centre of Nottingham.
Gosh, I'd have panicked. See, I
And
would have just panicked.
she knew she was going wrong,
Yeah.
but she didn't know what to do. So she just carried on driving.
And neither would I know
As you
what
would
to do.
do.
Yeah.
No, I know.
Because I'm not confident, really. Well, I was much more confident back then driving than I am now. I'm even worse now, but...
Look, we've got a whole other half of our lovely walk to come.
Yes.
Will we find this mysterious waterfall? Of course we will, and you don't want to miss it. So just get ready for it later on the show. Because right now, it's time for Kay to ask...
Dan Jones.
Yes.
What's off your needles?
Da, da, da.
Get the flags out. Dan's finished something.
It's a long way to do. Oh my goodness, yes. Can you believe it? I have finished a pair of socks.
They're lovely.
And I'm so thrilled about finishing
I've only
this
got one
pair of
blocker.
socks. Sorry.
We know the story of the single blocker.
We don't need.
We've said that.
Yes. It's the fairy wings.
Yeah, look, there's two.
Oh,
Ta-da!
wow. They are just... I loved every single second of knitting these socks. It was everything that I want in a sock pattern. You know, the perfect repeat so you can count the length, so you knit the same length on both. Perfect. Also, as well, no rest rows on the lace, so it keeps you nicely engaged. It's not hard at all.
No.
But what it doesn't, there was no chance that I was going to get bored, which I have a tendency to do when I knit socks. And I think you were slightly worried because this is very different to the flurry socks.
Yes.
And I think you were slightly, you were like, oh, you might be all right, you might not be all right. I think when I first cast these on, well, they're perfect. It's the perfect blend of concentration and enjoyment.
Yeah, and this is one of my designs, the fairy wings, and it uses a traditional Shetland motif. It's used a lot in Shetland knitting, and I just loved it, and it reminded me of the wings on a fairy.
Yeah.
So I just worked that into the repeat. It goes all the way around.
How cool is
And
that?
it's just
Shetland motif.
Yeah.
And these are on the way to Scotland.
These are going to go to...
These are going to the lovely family member who asked Kay to knit her a pair of socks last year, which was, of course, the Dunbrock.
The Dunbrock.
And Kay dyed up 2 colourways to decide which one she was going to use, and she used one for the Dunbrock. This went into her stash. When I said I was going to knit fairy wings, she said, why don't you use it?
It's a lovely shade. It's like a nutmeg.
And
Isn't it pretty?
It's sort of perfect, really, because it's only right, I think, that the person who inspired really this colourway and the Dunbrock gets these socks too. Yeah. So it's the longest legged socks I've ever done, and also the longest footed sock.
Definitely, yeah, because she wears a 8.5, something like that, a UK 8.5.
So just perfect. And look at that pickup. It's marvellous.
That side's excellent.
The other side.
I'm going to monitor it. I've said to him, I'm going to supervise the next corner pickup, and you'll get it spot on.
Because they aren't always as bad as this.
No. And I don't know why. I mean, it does look better now. I've fiddled with it a bit, and I blocked them, and it looks way better.
These just weren't right. These just... I just messed these up.
Yeah, you just didn't do it right.
I don't think that there's an issue. I was just stupid.
But you did it twice.
Yeah, I know. So clearly... No.
So what you're saying is you don't want me to monitor. You just think you're just fine.
No, do monitor me on that second side. But I don't think necessarily that it's something... It may be that I do it fine next time. Because I have done it fine before.
Yeah. But it won't hurt just to have a recap, will it?
Well, no, it won't hurt to have a recap, but what you can't do is take it off me and do it for me, because then I won't...
Did I say... You're a witness. Did I say I was going to take it off him and do it? No. I said I would monitor it. Did I say I was going to monitor it or supervise it?
Yeah, but that's code for...
No, it's not.
So long as you show me what to do, then
I would never take it off you because I know how funny you are with it. He's like, no, don't knit anything on it.
No,
I won't want to knit it if you've knit a stitch on it.
There are different types of learners. There are some learners who need to learn by doing, and there's other learners who need to learn by watching. And there's most, who need to do a bit of both.
Yeah, I'd say.
And it's really important that you know the type of learner that you are.
Watch and do. I'm a watch and do.
Once you know the type of learner that you are, it then becomes so much easier to actually learn new things. Enough of this, because I want to get back out and find that mysterious waterfall and relive that scene from Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. No, don't worry, we're not going to do that.
Oh no,
because it's way too steep.
Even him. That wasn't even him.
It was a body double.
It was a body double. He didn't want to show his body in the pool swimming.
Gosh, terrible. Let's get back for the rest of the lovely walk in the Dales.
Welcome back everyone to Walking the Dales. This is Swinholme Bridge and it is literally the perfect spot to really take in the gorgeousness that is the Greta Valley. Our journey in the footsteps of Alfred Wainwright has come to an end. Whilst he's heading off in that direction, we've turned south because we're in search of something secret and something a little bit special that I think you might just like. Our lamb friends are back. They're gorgeous, aren't they? My goodness. It's a funny old day today because it's April, first of all. So naturally you think it might be slightly warmer. Also, there's a few clouds around, but it's really sunny. You'd think it would be quite warm. It totally isn't. I thought when I put on my hat and my cowl today, it would come off rather quickly, but crumbs, we're now well into this gorgeous walk. And I tell you something, it's not going anywhere. As I approach, two lambs lay down. I did my best not to disturb anybody, honestly. They don't seem very happy with me at all, do they? One of the things that I absolutely love about walking in the classical Yorkshire Dales is the type of landscapes that you can see out on one relatively short walk. Because a mile back down the track and we were enjoying the gorgeous River Greta. But now we're making our way up onto a moor, a little bit like we walked on last time when we were walking the moors. And we met the northern lapwing, didn't we? Doing his acrobatics. There was one that day. Well, they're everywhere. They are all around me. You'll hear them in the background. My goodness, this is a steep hill. This is Gilmanby Moor, and you might be wondering, how can a moor be in a dale? Well, moors appear absolutely anywhere. Basically, if you go up the side of a valley and onto the top, once you get up to the height where the wind starts to whistle, as it just did there a little bit, the trees don't really like to grow. And where there's no trees, it normally becomes quite boggy, and then you get this grass growing, and that's how a moorland forms. The funny thing is, 6,000 years ago, this was not a moorland. This was actually forested, and it was actually man that took all the trees away from here. It was around the time when we started farming animals. We needed places to put them, you know, where they could live, and that's how Gilmanby Moor was formed. But on Gilmanby Moor, you will still find the odd tree, and that's where we're heading. But we're not just looking for a few trees, we're looking for something infinitely more beautiful than that. Because up here, I'm told, is one of the most gorgeous places in all of the Greta Valley. We've just got to find it. I can hear the rush of water. Oh my goodness. This is absolutely it. Wow. This is the most stunning spot. You'll have to pardon my hood. The wind is blowing rather crazily up here. I've got to say, in all the walks that I've ever done, this is the most stunning thing I think I've ever seen, because it just comes at you from nowhere. It's just open moorland, there's nothing around, and then suddenly there's trees and a lovely waterfall, and if it wasn't so far out, this would be perfect for a picnic. One of the things that I love about walking anywhere really is the things that you discover along the way. And words, for me, they tell a story, I think, sometimes, literally. For example, you know, discovering that Hughill Syke was that little stream that ran down to the gorgeous Hughill Force, that amazing waterfall that we just saw. But what exactly does Syke mean? Well, it turns out that Syke means stream, but it's a word that harks back to even before the time of the Vikings. And it's interesting, isn't it, how some words stay with us, but other ones don't. It's fascinating. It makes every walk, I think, certainly anywhere in the UK, so interesting, just, you know, looking at what you see on a map and then trying to find out what everything means. It's so easy just to walk by and not think about it, but I think it just brings to life a little bit the landscape that you're walking through, just learning a little bit more about what you're walking past. Now, one thing that I did not expect to find up here right on the top of a moorland, and let me tell you, I'm not complaining, is this gorgeous road. My knees. This has been more climbing on this walk actually than I expected. I thought last time was going to be the challenging one of the series, but coming up the side of that bank was just stunning. But up here, my goodness, it's giving us some absolutely stunning views of everything we've already walked through. We're leaving Gilmanby Moor behind us. We're actually heading to the final little destination on today's trail. It's the village which gave Gilmanby Moor its name. It's called Gilmanby. Now, Gilmanby used to be quite an important little place. It even had a hall, and that hall had been there since medieval times. It harks back, the village of Gilmanby, to a time when Bowes and Gilmanby, which are right next door to each other, really were the capital of this part of Teesdale. It was the arrival of the trains that spelt the end for Bowes and Gilmanby being an important part of Teesdale. And after those trains came and things started to die down a bit, the owner of Gilmanby Hall, he had a plan. He thought he needed to come up with a way of getting people to come and visit and you know, spend time and spend money in Gilmanby and Bowes, to keep them as the centre of the farming community that's around here. So he thought the perfect thing to do was to start an agricultural show, and he did on the 21st of September 1869. And every year since then, apart from last year, the show's happened. And for those of you interested, on the 11th of September this year, 2021, the agricultural show is back, thank goodness. It's tremendously sad that Gilmanby Hall has now gone, but thank goodness all the buildings which once supported the great big house live on to create a village really with the most lovely atmosphere ever. It's the perfect way to finish our walk because, would you believe it, we've made our way back to where we started. And what a walk we've had. I said at the start of today's walk that this place really is a hidden gem, and I was right, wasn't I? The striking majesty of Bowes Castle looms large over this part of the Greta Valley, and it gives this place a feel unlike anywhere that I've ever visited. But it's the River Greta and its tributaries flowing down from the moors and the hills that give this place its soul. This walk has given us a taste of everything that I love about the country that I call home. The Yorkshire Dales has really laid down a marker, I think, for the rest of the series. And the question is, will the moors be able to beat it? Well, we'll find out next time, when I'll once again be walking the moors. I'll see you then.
What a walk! Oh my goodness. We've got to do that walk.
Okay.
I would guess it would be your favourite walk.
All right.
Because,
how many miles?
Well, you can adjust to fit.
Right.
So you could do 4.
That's okay.
You could do 3.
4's okay.
You could even do 6.
Right.
I mean, in fact, you could probably adjust even more because there's so many pathways going all over the place that, you know, it really works. But the one that you just saw was 4. And everything about it, as I said on the show, it encapsulates all the things that I love about this country. You know, the history and the greenness of the landscape, you know, especially at this time of year, and the wildlife. The northern lapwings. Prior to the last walk, I had no clue
and now they're your best friends.
What a northern lapwing was. And the funny thing is, Kay and I saw a northern lapwing the first time we did that walk at Jervo that you love.
Yeah. And we didn't know what it was.
We had no clue what it was. We just saw one. And then to discover one and to identify what it was on the last walk, and then this time there must have been 15 or 20 of them spiralling around and just amazing. There was curlews, there was all sorts up there, just lovely. We can, of course, only do these lovely walks and also the My Favourite Colourways.
Yeah.
And in fact, everything that we do, we wouldn't even be sat here.
Nope.
Were it not for our Bakery Bear patrons. So if you watch the show, first of all, that's important. If you enjoy it, that's also important.
Well, if they didn't watch, they wouldn't be hearing you, would they?
That is a fair point. That is a fair point. So the key question is, do you enjoy it? And if you do enjoy it, we really need your support, because without our Bakery Bear patrons, we simply wouldn't be able to make the show. So to find out everything there is to know about being a Bakery Bear patron, you can follow the link at the bottom of the screen now. It's also linked in the show notes below, and it tells you everything, all about the extras that you get for being a Bakery Bear patron. And let me tell you, there's rather a lot.
There's loads.
There's literally hours and hours.
We literally keep adding to it, don't we? Every year there's we come up with new things, and
that's right.
Yeah, so there is
all sorts of series.
I would hope actually that patrons would say it's really fun being part of our lovely community.
Yes, most definitely. So yeah, you can find out everything by following the link that's listed in the show notes below. But right now, it's time for the Endy Bits.
Endy Bits.
Now, we've already mentioned the Amazonian Warrior Challenge,
Yep.
which is our year-long patron-only knit-along, but open to everybody walk and run along.
And we're going to be doing some prizes for that, aren't we?
In our
the
next
pop,
which will be at the end of this month.
End of this month, we'll be doing some prizes.
Yes, our quarterly prizes.
Yeah.
There's quarterly prizes, and then there's a grand prize at the end of the year.
Yeah.
But we're about to start a brand new knit-along open to everybody.
Yes, well, not quite about to start, but we will be having a very exciting new knit-along starting towards the end of May. And this knit-along will be for a new design of mine and is a new blanket design.
Say nothing more.
That's all I'm going to say. I did put a little bit of information on Instagram a couple of days ago just about it.
So go and...
But have a look on there if you want a few more details. But yeah, I'm keeping it very, very secret. I have got some lovely testers who have been working away on it whilst I finish off my sample so that it was all ready to go on.
Now, you just said sample.
Yeah.
Now, I think...
Right.
No. It's not a sample. You've knit the whole blanket.
No, I've knit... Mine is a proper blanket. Yes. I've knit a full-size lap size, full-size blanket.
So she's not just done some little square?
No. And, I really like to... I could have just done... Even a baby-sized blanket, I could have just done a small sample of the blanket, and that would demonstrate everything you need to know to be able to make a larger size. But I didn't do that. And the reason I didn't do that is for a number of reasons, but I really wanted to experience the whole thing, and I've said this before.
That's what I love about your pans.
I always want to experience what it's like to knit that thing from, all the way through. Because
it might get tedious and rubbish, mightn't it?
It might. And
if it did, you wouldn't want to put the pattern out, would you?
No, absolutely. If I found it, it might be great when you start off knitting something, you'd be really excited.
We've all been there.
If it wears a bit
old
thin,
quickly.
If it wears a bit thin, you're getting a bit bored. But I can honestly say I'm getting close to the end of mine now, and I'm still loving it, and I'm still thoroughly enjoying working on it. And I think I will start another one as well when we start the knit-along. So... yeah, that's why I wanted to make a proper size blanket, because also as well you can see what it looks like in a proper size rather than having to use your imagination and thinking, oh yeah, that looks great as a little small sample, but what will it look like as a big size? So that was the other reason I wanted to do it. So yeah, that's coming towards the end of May, and I'm launching it on a particular day because it's a very...
But say nothing more.
Particular day in my life,
yes.
Let's say. So yeah, it's all going to come together towards the end of May. But what I'm going to do for the prizes for that knit-along, it will probably run I'll probably run it all through the summer actually, so maybe till the end of August, something like that.
And this is open to everybody.
It'll be open to, obviously it's open to everybody. It's a pattern that will be available for anyone to purchase. It's there, and anyone can purchase the pattern and get knitting on it the day it's launched. And what I'm going to do for the prizes is I thought I would use all of the yarns that I've been dyeing up in the My Favourite Colourways demonstrate.
You might even have some more then.
There'll be some more by then. There'll absolutely be some more by then. But I've got here the ones that I've sort of picked out so far. And we've got the one from last time, which is Time Turner. So we've got a skein of that gorgeous yellow. We've got Water Sprite. Oh, I love this one. A skein of Water Sprite. We've got a skein of Easter Sprinkles. Gorgeous. And Dearest, Loveliest Elizabeth.
Wonderful.
So I've got 4 skeins so far, and there will be more than that. And then I'm also going to use the sock snake thing that was donated to us from lovely Ducky Darlings that I showed you, I think, a couple of episodes ago. So far there's 5 prizes there, but there will be more than that, because this is it's a blanket, it's a big project to undertake, and I thought let's have some great prizes. So there's going to be at least a couple more skeins of yarn there by the time we get to the end of the knit-along.
Wonderful.
So I wanted to mention it now so that you can sort of
Get excited.
because I'm super excited. I'm nervous and I'm super excited, and I've been working on it for months.
This is a big design project.
Yeah, I've been working on it for months, and I'm just so excited that we're doesn't seem that far off now to launching it. So yeah.
Thank you all so much, actually, I must say, for your enthusiasm around the vanilla cream socks. They are, of course, out now. They're perfect for
anyone who might want to knit their first pair of socks, I guess.
Right.
It's a vanilla sock, just a tiny bit of detail at the top. It includes tutorials for all of the techniques that I use to make the perfectly neatest pair of socks I possibly can. So maybe you should watch it. And then you might get your sock corners. So
if you would like corners that look like this, and not like this.
I was going to say I should bring a pair of socks and show you the corners. But
no. That corner's good.
That one's not bad. It could be a little bit better. But it's got not just picking up the corners. There's loads of techniques in there.
Yeah, there's the cast on.
There's 6
everything.
tutorials, I think, in
You've shared all your techniques for knitting perfect socks.
So, if you've been knitting socks for a while and you're just not quite getting those details right, and you just want to have a look at that in a bit more detail.
It's beginners or anyone who thinks that they could perhaps, with a bit of practice, knit more perfect socks.
Yeah, if you're just
like
if you're just the sort of person that likes the detail, the tiny details in things, then I think you'll enjoy that pattern.
Cool, that's out and available right now. Did you hear our latest radio show?
I did.
Well, you were on it, so I should hope so. We tackled the very challenging subject of age, and we came to the conclusion that it's not age, it's experience.
Yes.
And we've also decided that all the card makers that like to put big numbers on cards, we shall say no more, need to stop.
Yes.
Because age is not a number, it's how you feel. Oh yes, so that's available for you right now, and there'll be another radio show out next week. And that's it. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for watching. It's been wonderful
everyone.
to see you. And we will see you in 2 weeks for our next video show when Kay will be back to share with us.
I know. I need to get my thinking cap on.
My Favourite Colourway. We'll see you then.
See you soon. Bye.
Enthusiasm's not quitting. Dan and Kay the bakery bears. They'll take you to fabulous places of which their favorites they'll share. You better buy a pattern and get yourself a bakery bear. You'll find yourself in a castle